All right, let's start week 7 here. A First and Pod. Listen and subscribe on the Odyssey app, wherever you get your podcasts. By now, you should know I'm Andrew Fillipponi, joined by three-time All-Pro Patrick Peterson. And we are starting our taping early tonight because this game sucked. It's 26-3 right now, getting ready to start the fourth quarter. Yeah, I'm not going to mince words here or make it sound better than it was.
Yeah.
This was a very ugly game. Spence, who's producing, thought the same thing. He was telling me games like this was why he started to tune out for a lot of Thursday night football games. Because for a while, Thursday night football games for years, Pat, were much uglier, low scoring kind of slogs. And this game went back to that. So I'm actually going to start you with that. Now, built-in excuse for this one is it's two rookie quarterbacks. But is it really that much harder to play football on a Thursday off a Sunday game in terms of the game plans, the way it has to maybe stay basic? Does Thursday night football make the NFL product watered down, in your opinion?
No doubt about it. I think it definitely watered down the product because guys' body is not recuperating or recovering the way that it should. Like you got to think about it. Guys are going into a car crash each and every time they making a tackle or each and every time they're getting hit. So they're going through a car crash each, at least 5 times, throughout a 60-minute ball game. And then you're asking those guys to turn back around when you have to go back to practice on a Monday after that Sunday night game or the Sunday game. So now your whole schedule is all thrown off. Because like for me, when I play after a Monday, you go and watch tape, you hit the training room, hit the cold tub, ice tub, this, that, and other. But now you have that Thursday night game. Hell, you in the building, you cramming at least 2 days in one. So now you got to go watch film, and then we got a game plan for the next opponent that we're about to watch. Sometimes teams don't even watch the previous tape because so much you have to cram in during that week. Mm-hmm. Not only cram in during the week, the product that you're trying to put out on the field, you're not able to put your best foot forward because, like you said, the playbook is going to be a little bit more watered down. Guy's body is not going to be 100%. So now you have to lean on the fundamentals, things that you did in training camp, which is still winning football, but that's not the product that any organization want to put out there on a Thursday night. But it's all about the dollars and the viewers and the screaming and all these networks trying to get a piece of the pie. The NFL just going after the money.
Yeah, and short week for guys that are new to the NFL at quarterback, I don't think makes it any better. Rattler and Nix, and no run games for either teams either, so it wasn't like they could fall back on that. Kamara had 2 carries for 5 yards when we turned this game off. Rattler was actually their leading rusher. Bo Nix had a long run and was probably the best play of the game, actually. Right. I am stunned, and I know we were bullish on New Orleans after 2 games and the 90-plus points and talked about the Kubiak hire. And maybe eventually that would have worked out had Derek Carr not got hurt and missed time here with that oblique injury, Pat. But I am still absolutely stunned that he is their head coach. When you think about his overall record, which is 26-51, but then rewind back to how last year ended. Jameis Winston ran a play to get a guy a touchdown when the coach said, take a knee, the game is over. I've never seen that amount of blatant disrespect for an authority figure. And Jameis is a great guy. Mm-hmm. But those guys said, the heck with what our coaches want. We're going to do something. If I was the owner of the team, that would have told me right there how the players viewed the guy. They look at him as a pushover.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bizarre, especially when Jameson came out. Like you said, I'm sure Jameson is a great guy. He was, wanted his guy to make I think it was for a bonus, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was.
So he wanted his guy to get his bonus. I get all of that, but I see what you're saying. It seemed like he's a pushover that guys don't, respect his authority. So we'll see what happens after this season because they started out hot and it's not going so well right now. We all know that a lot of injuries started to mount up on them, not at the right time for an NFL team to be, suffering injuries, especially when you already had questions coming into the season about your head coach. Your quarterback goes down. and now it just seemed like the team don't have any more fight. So it's going to be a uphill journey for Dennis Allen and the New Orleans Saints from where they're coming or from where they are right now. But next year is definitely up in the air if he'll be the New Orleans Saints head coach.
Yeah, we've already seen Robert Saleh fired, and Jerry Jones has come out and said he's not going to do anything with Mike McCarthy. So I wouldn't be surprised if Allen is the guy that gets the pink slip next. Not going to spend much more time on this game because it's not worth it. Sean Payton went back to New Orleans, got to win. He'd been thinking years about that, even though he did not leave them on bad terms. All right, let's get to the Week 7 games. Now, everyone's probably expecting Chiefs 49ers to lead us off. I'm not going to do that because I actually think the biggest game or best game of this Sunday is the Texans and Packers. Texans are 5-1. Packers are 4-2. Games at Lambeau. Somehow we have a game that's better than last year's Super Bowl rematch, in my opinion. Pat, is this a Super Bowl preview? The Texans and Packers.
It really can be for these two organizations because they're moving in the right direction. They have franchise quarterbacks and Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud, solid defenses, great head coaches that know how to motivate their team and put their team in position to win ball games on a consistent basis. So this can, very sure be a Super Bowl preview. I love what both teams bring to the table. I think it's going to be, like you said, I believe this is definitely the best matchup of the week because of the fireworks that both teams can bring on both sides of the ball. So I expect this to be a very, very high entertaining game. And I'm going with Houston to come out on top of this game this week.
Wow. I am too, as a matter of fact. I don't think Houston has played to its level yet. They beat Buffalo. They got help from Sean McDermott there at the end of that game. I think that C.J. Stroud has had to now overcome the Nico Collins injury and did a really good job of that last week. So I'm with you. I do think right now Green Bay, because of the Collins injury, is probably better on paper. They've got a top 10 offense. They've got a top 10 defense. I do think that both of these teams are set up for years because of the quarterback and coach combinations that they both have. So we see eye to eye on that. Both are flush with wide receivers. Houston's got 3 great ones. Green Bay doesn't have like a Jaden Reed's getting there, but they don't have an alpha dog that way. They've got a bunch of guys. Dobbs came back after he sulked and was suspended for a game and caught 2 touchdowns last week against Arizona. So right now, I would say that Houston is probably second for me in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl, and I would put Green Bay third in the NFC. Let me put you through this quick checklist, Pat. Okay. I will name a position for both teams, and you tell me advantage Texans or advantage Packers.
Okay.
Quarterback.
Oh, well, damn. You started out with a bang. I thought you was going to do the quarterbacks last, but I'm going to go with, man, that's a toss-up, Pony. That really is. I mean, both of those guys are really good at what they do. They're both young. Let's come back to that one. Let me continue to elaborate.
All right, well, I'll answer mine. I'm going to say Houston. Love has had too many of these kind of brain fart interceptions seep into his game this year.
He has. But C.J. Stroud hasn't been the best this year as well.
Okay, so you want to table that one. Interesting.
Yeah.
How about coach?
Coach, I'm going to go with Matt LaFleur, just because of what he's been able to do with the Green Bay Packers in his stint being their head coach. DeMeco Ryan is a great head coach thus far that we have seen out of him. But we got to see more.
I'm going to go with LaFleur because it's one thing to win with Aaron Rodgers. C.J. Stroud was the second pick in the draft. Love was a guy picked in the 20s from Utah State. And in the second half of last year, he was as good as any quarterback in the league. So I'm going to give him the edge there. How about defense?
Defense, I'm going to go Houston.
I like Green Bay. I think Houston's got bigger star power with Anderson and Hunter and Stingley, your boy. But I think 1 through 11, I'm going to take the Packers defense. All right, now you got to answer the quarterback one.
Quarterback, I'm gonna go C.J. Stroud.
Okay.
C.J. Stroud, I like what I've seen from C.J. Stroud throughout his young NFL career, just his maturity, the way he go about his process, and I just feel like he is the most. I won't say the most NFL ready. He's the one that I feel that has more control of the game out of the two. Like you said, Jordan Love can make some bonehead decisions sometimes. I just don't see that happening from CJ too often.
Well, I'm an idiot because I picked Green Bay 2 out of 3, and then I said 2 minutes ago that I'm going to take the Texans to win the game. So what the heck am I doing here? I'm pulling myself in two different directions, but I do think Houston's going to win because they were my pick to win the Super Bowl before the season started.
I got you. So we're talking about Super Bowl. Let's move on to the real Super Bowl rematch, which is the Chiefs and the 49ers. The 49ers are favored to win this game, just like they was in the Super Bowl. But should they be?
Yeah. And I know people are going to say, what are you talking about? The Chiefs are 5-0. And whenever they're in these measuring stick games or games that are almost like a playoff game, they win. And San Francisco's 3-3. But I think if you actually now San Francisco has lost some games with self-inflicted wounds that they should have won, like the Cardinals game at home a couple of weeks ago. But I'm sorry. The Chiefs have won these games mostly by the skin of their teeth. I don't think, other than the defensive side of the ball, they've played great this year. Their offense, to me, is still a work in progress. Their offense last year in the regular season was, and they flipped a switch in the playoffs. Mahomes came out this week and said, I'm not worried about my wide receivers. Bro, you should be confident in yourself because you've got 3 rings and you're the greatest quarterback in the league right now. Your number one target in this game is Juju Smith-Schuster. Okay? Much love for Juju, who's a nice guy and played well here in Pittsburgh for years, but there's a reason why the Patriots cut the guy before the season started. His knee almost blew up on him. I mean, a guy that will run over the middle for you and make contested catches, but no one's confusing his ass for a number one wide receiver. The 49ers probably got 4 guys that are better, and one of them got shot before the season started. So I'm going to take San Francisco in this game too, because I think revenge is a dish that's best served cold. It's going to be windy there and chilly in San Francisco. And Brock Purdy has played better than Patrick Mahomes to this point in the season. So, yeah, I'm going to take San Francisco to win, and they should be favored by a nose.
Yeah, I'm going to take San Francisco as well, just because this is kind of like one of those, not kind of, this is a revenge game. Like I had a hit this morning on the radio. We was talking about the mishaps that San Francisco had, and is this game a must-win situation? And I said this is definitely a must-win situation, because the last time you saw this team, it was in the biggest game of the season. You know what I mean? So, and your only opportunity that you're going to have to play them again is in the regular season, if the schedule makers end up making that happen, or in the Super Bowl again. So you're only going to get so many opportunities, and every time you have an opportunity to play up against, a Super Bowl opponent, you want to put your best foot forward. So this is a must-win game for San Francisco. I do like San Francisco as well in this game. I know it's hard to go up against Patrick Mahomes, especially when he's giving points. And I do think this may be their best performance all year offensively, because I don't know if they needed a challenge or needed to get some kinks out and had to need to have a little bit more time with his receivers. But I do think this will be their best offense performance this game. But I am going with the 49ers to win this ball game.
If Kansas City loses, they're like, whatever. We've lost regular season games before. We'll be there when it's all said and done in January. Right. For the 49ers, if you lose to Kansas City again and you have a losing record through 7 games, I think you start to question yourself a lot more. So I get what you're saying when it comes to like the pressure of who needs to win the game more. Monday night, this is a good game too. Ravens and Bucks, battle of 2 first-place teams. Who do you got in this one?
I'm going with the Ravens, just because the history that Lamar has against NFC opponents.
Dude, you stole my take. That was exactly what I was going to friggin' say, man. I didn't think you were going to have that stat in your back pocket. Are you kidding me right now? Oh, my God,
and I'm gonna give out my source, man. My source, Brian McFadden, better known as B Mac, gave me that source, that information about 2 weeks ago because I think it was last week because I wanted to go with Washington. He was like, I'm telling you, man, Lamar Jackson against NFC teams, he don't lose. So I remember that. That was in the back of my mind. And I can't go against Lamar Jackson against an NFC opponent because he proved that last week against the Washington Commanders. So I'm gonna stay on. I'm gonna stay with the trend. I'm gonna say Baltimore Ravens win this game just because of the history with Lamar Jackson against NFC opponents.
All right, so I love BMAC too. Here's the stat. The guy has, in starts, not games he's played in, because he came in and played with Flacco and lost 2 games his rookie year to NFC teams, but he didn't get the lion's share of the reps. 22-1 against NFC teams, okay? And I really think that this has to do with the fact that you can watch him on tape, you can go over the schematics of their offense
until you see him.
Exactly right. And it's one thing if you're the Steelers or the Bengals and you play them twice a year, or you're the Bills and the Chiefs and you're playing them at least once a year. These NFC teams don't see it, and they can have a wide receiver play quarterback on scout team in practice all they want. It's not the same thing.
Nope.
And so I do think that is one big advantage that they have in these games, these cross-conference games. And I agree with you. Baker Mayfield's played well this year. They've beaten good teams. They pasted the Eagles at home a couple of weeks ago. They went to Detroit and won, and we've seen what the Lions have done since. So this is in no way am I denigrating or putting down at all what the Bucs have done to this point, but I just cannot pick against Lamar Jackson in these types of matchups.
Nah, can't. What is the spread like? What is it, like 2.5?
Yep, and Baltimore's favored on the road, so I will be betting them on Monday night. Pat.
Yeah, me too. Same here. Speaking of cross-conference, let's go across the pond. We got the Jags and the Pats. So the Jags are planning on putting $1 billion into their stadium renovations. So is that deading the idea of having a team in London?
I don't know who goes there now unless there's expansion. So I would say for now, you don't put $1 billion into a stadium repair if you're going to leave 2 years later. Right. Look at the Browns. They're trying to get, the city officials there were trying to get money poured into their old stadium. The owner said, no, we're building a dome in the suburbs. So I don't think that this is a situation where it's a precursor to Jacksonville eventually saying, bon voyage, we're leaving. But, Goodell, man, he is fixated on growing the game over there. Mm-hmm. And so if a team isn't going to go, then here's what I wonder, Pat. Are we going to get to a point where there are like a home schedule's 8 or 9 games, depending on the conference? Are we going to see them host the equivalent of a home schedule?
Yes.
In London, where 8 weeks in the NFL season, there's a game there. And maybe 2 of them are Jags games and the other 6 are random matchups. And here's the holy grail of this. Are we going to see the Super Bowl there one year, which would just be, I think Roger Goodell, that's his ultimate dream, is to take the Super Bowl to London one time and play it internationally.
Yeah, I can see all of that happening just because you're seeing every year we're getting more international games, so I can see eventually maybe 4 or 5 years from now that the NFL is not making it mandatory, but almost having an 8-game schedule, planned out in London. It can be, like you said, I can see Jags having at least 2 of those games. Minnesota has a big presence out there. Green Bay, the Patriots. I can see those kind of being like staple games, like home games for those teams, to where whatever. I'm also sure that if they won't mind. Well, I take that back. NFL owners love their home games, so I don't know how they're going to end up bribing the owners on trying to convince them out of a home game. But I do see the needle moving towards that way, because you're seeing conversations now about Roger Goodell having, thoughts on, taking the Super Bowl across the pond. So,
and I thought his plan was to just move the Jags team there, but
Yeah.
You
Which
know,
I don't think would be a good idea to have a team there, though. I just don't think.
How do you think NFL players would feel about it?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's a good move because it's a different lifestyle out there, man. The food's different. You have to move different. Like just going out there for a week, honestly, is almost dreadful, to be honest with you, because you can't go anywhere. They have us 2.5 hours away from everything. So traffic is crazy. We're so used to American food. They rarely have that. They have mayonnaise instead of ketchup. So things like that. So you got to get used to a lot of things, and I just can't see a team willing to go over there for 6, almost 8 months, moving guys away from their families. Then after the season, they got to move right back, to the States. So I just think it's too many moving parts to have a team out of the country.
Jets and Steelers. Aaron Rodgers got his man. It was the worst kept secret. Davante Adams is now a Jet. What will that do for the Jets offense, Pat?
I don't think much because they still can't protect Aaron Rodgers. Like he has to have enough time to get the ball to his weapons. And I just think that their offensive line is just not stout enough to give him the time that he needs to deliver the ball down the field. I mean, it's just been proven thus far throughout this season that they cannot give him enough time. And at this stage of his career, he's getting hit entirely way too much. So it's he added some star power for sure, and they may move the ball a little bit and may, have an opportunity to draw double coverage, get double coverage off Garrett Wilson, so that may open him up a little bit more. But for the most part, I don't see much of an improvement because you still won't have time to get the ball to your weapons.
Well, he did get hit a lot against the Bills. I won't try to deny that. But I guess I'm just a sucker for the name and the fact that these guys had such a great relationship with each other in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to turn their season around and make the playoffs now. I saw him in that game against the Bills. He still had moments where he looked like the old Aaron Rodgers. The Hail Mary play at the end of the first half.
Mm-hmm.
That ball, I don't know how he fit that ball in there to triple coverage. That one throw was just unreal. I don't think
the one that he got behind the hip. You talking about that one?
Oh my God. The one where it looked like there was a defender in front, to the left, and the right of the guy.
Yes,
he 25 yards.
Yes,
zipped it
right
in
up
there.
the seam. Right up the seam. I know what you're talking about. That was a hell of a throw.
I was like, what?
I think that was more luck than anything, though.
You think? Well, anyways, I'm going to fall for it and just figure that offensive line maybe never gets to good this year, but I think maybe he can get to competent, and then Aaron's going to have to adjust and just get the ball out faster than he has so far to this season. And look, at 40, I think that we'll see fewer. You're shaking your head no because you disagree with me. Damn it.
Yeah. Just because, man, they just play sloppy football, man. It's just they do nothing well. Like they don't protect well. They don't run the football. They get penalties out of the yin yang every single week.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I just don't see nothing changing. Like you're still gonna have these self-inflicted wounds that we've been seeing since Robert Saleh was a coach. So ain't nothing is gonna change, in my opinion. Like you may see, more flair in the offense, but for the most part, Aaron's still gonna get hit. Aaron's still not gonna have much time to throw the football, and he's gonna be looking around, pissed off at guys who's getting catching the ball all off balance and getting tackled because he can't throw the ball right. You're just going to see the same old story.
Well, I actually wanted, let me work in off of that point. Let me throw in the Chargers and Cardinals game because that's the other Monday night game, and it brings in Adams because of what you just said, because Aaron Rodgers absolutely destroyed Mike Williams at the end of that game. And you're laughing about it. I want to talk about this because now Mike Williams has basically been told.
Yeah, he's on the trading block for sure.
Stay away from Aaron Rodgers. He's so mad at you. He had to take a personal day this week to not practice. He went back to practice on Thursday, and they said, go on the other field. You're not practicing with the team.
Wow.
So I said, I'm bringing this up because I think LA should just bring him back.
Yeah.
I think we know he can play with Justin Herbert, and they need wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to ask you, so we agree that LA should bring him back.
Yep.
But I mean, what's your take on just the way Rodgers publicly aired out a teammate like that? I think that's BS, man. The guy's
I
going to
do
go in the
too.
Hall of Fame on the first ballot, but I've got a major problem. Mike Williams isn't some guy that just got into the NFL. I don't think that that's
Yeah.
cool. I got a big
Yeah.
issue with that.
Yeah, I didn't like the fact that how he handled the question and explained it in so much in so much detail on where Mike should have been, and me being a defensive back, listening to his conversation when he was talking about the red line, I'm like, first of all, Mike was never lined up close to the red line, and he was never running a go route. You know what I mean? So that's when you 9 times out of 10 want that receiver to hug the red line, is when they're running a go route. Mike was running a corner route, which the ball never made it to the red line or to the corner route, the trajectory on the ball need to be on a corner route. The ball was underthrown. Then he came up and said that I saw Alex Lazar at the corner of my eye. Then I saw Mike throw his hand up, so I had to kind of save the ball to when I threw it, this, that, and the other. I call BS.
Why does somebody whose legacy is intact the way that Rodgers is, and he's going into the Hall of Fame, and everybody thinks that he's great, why can't he in a moment like that just eat it and own it, man? I don't understand that. I really don't. I think that's poor leadership skills. I'm sorry.
I
I
mean,
just
yeah. I mean, you've been hearing, that's been the question, especially the last couple of years when he was in, Green Bay, and this year missing mandatory, OTAs or whatever it was that he missed this offseason. That's always been a question. I have opportunity to play, golf with Aaron. He doesn't, come off that way, a couple of years ago, but it's just like you said, it's just odd and weird that he comes off that way, being a guy, the credibility that he has, the career that he had, and where he's going to be when it's all said and done. It was just shocking, honestly, to see him answer that question the way he did. All right, we got the Panthers and we got the Washington Commanders. I got a hypothetical question for you.
okay.
If Jaden Daniels and Bryce Young was to switch teams, how do you think their career would shape out?
I think Jaden Daniels would have the Panthers relevant. I don't think that they would be the laughingstock team that they are. I think that he would have them in a position where they would be maybe 500 or better. And I think the Commanders, even though they do have more weapons than Carolina does, I think we'd still be thinking that they're in quarterback purgatory. We've talked so much on this podcast about how a lot of success is related to where you end up and who's coaching you and the players around you.
Yep.
But in this case, I've got enough questions about Bryce Young, and I think I've got enough answers about just who Jaden Daniels is and the type of player he is, that I think Jaden Daniels is the type of guy that makes everybody around him better. And I think Bryce Young, it remains to be seen. I mean, I think if he was drafted by a better team, he probably would have had a better career. But my thing is, Washington, look at the roster. You've got Terry McLaurin, who's underrated, but
Yeah,
they
I
traded
agree.
away Jahan Dotson. Zach Ertz is their best tight end. Zach's best year, he would say this was probably 4 or 5 years ago. Their running backs, Brian Robinson Jr. is a nice player, but nothing more than that. Austin Eckler's on the back leg of his career. Their offensive line is not great. I mean, there's really no reason for that offense to average 30 points a game. It's Jaden Daniels, man.
Right.
Like, seriously, I mean, Carolina's a little bit worse, but then again, Carolina's got Chuba Hubbard, who's having a great year. Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen when he's healthy. I mean, there's not a big gulf between the talent from both teams. I don't think it's a situation where if Jaden Daniels went to Carolina, the stink of Carolina would cause him to play poorly. I really don't believe that. Do you?
No, I don't at all. It just seemed like Jaden is much more of not only a precision passer, but it just seemed like he understands the game a little bit more. And I don't know if it's because, he spent so much time in college that he's a little bit older, but it just seemed like the game comes slow to him. Like you can just watch him going through his progression. You can just see he don't have those young quarterback tendencies of rushing through the progression, having those happy feet, like really trusting the process of his reads to help him deliver the ball where it needs to go. So just seeing the poise that he have and the confidence that his teammates have in him, I agree with you 100%. It just seems like he's the type of player that have the ability to make his team better.
And maybe Bryce Young is an Alabama guy that just because they had such elite coaching, they had so many NFL players that it just made him look that much better. You know, I remember those USC guys like Matt Leinart when he was there, and he had Reggie Bush and Lendale White and Mike Williams and all those guys. Like, he looked like an NFL quarterback, but he wasn't. He was terrible. I actually saw Matt Leinart throw in practice before. I was around guys in high school who threw better football than him. No offense,
Really?
Matt. You're doing a great job at Fox, and you're a really cool guy. But honestly, dude, it was nothing about it made you go, whoa. Okay, I've seen guys. The late Dwayne Haskins threw a football in practice that it was like a ball came out of a cannon. It was unreal, just the way it exploded off the guy's hand. And so, yeah. Lions and Vikings battle for first place in the NFC North. Can Detroit win this unbelievable division without Aiden Hutchinson?
It's going to be tough, but I think I'm going to say no. Because Minnesota, man, I really like what Minnesota is doing. I really think that their defense is, going to apply a ton of pressure on whatever quarterback that they play. But they also know the history that Jared Goff does not like pressure and the confusion that it caused, upon him when he's going through his progression. So
I saw a stat that he's better against the blitz than any quarterback in the NFL. Stats gotta lie, man, because that's not what my eyes tell me when I watch him play.
Exactly. I don't believe that one bit. And, I had the opportunity to game plan against him, over my years when he was with the Rams and also with my time in Minnesota. And it was pretty much the same MO, just put pressure in his face, make him get happy feet, get his eyes down.
Yep.
And you're pretty much going to sack him. So I believe that the Brian Flores, who had a great one-liner in his press conference this week, is saying that he likes to fight fire with fire, basically referring to Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator over in Detroit.
Man,
so
he ran it up the board with some trick plays against Dallas, boy.
I
Holy
know.
cow. That was awesome.
And I don't think he's going to be running many trick plays against Minnesota. I can guarantee you that, because you don't want to have as an offense, you don't want to have many negative plays. So I almost guarantee that they may be one trick play, and I won't necessarily say it's going to be one of those plays where the ball is going all over the place. It's going to be maybe some offensive lineman or offset offensive line to where it's a crunch time situation, because that's how they got us for the most part each and every year. Being those division opponents, like, you're not going to be running trick plays out of the yin yang. We're just going to give you some different formations to make you think we're running trick plays, but we're just going to get back into a generic run play or a generic pass to the flat play. So I can almost guarantee that there would not be many trick plays in this game for sure.
The defensive ends now for Detroit are guys that no one's ever heard of. They're second round picks from a couple years ago. Marcus Davenport's out there. He's injured, and so is Aiden Hutchinson. So in my opinion, they got to do something. If they don't, then they could finish in third or fourth place in that division because it's that good. The obvious move is to go get Hassan Reddick from the Jets and just get him.
That move, though.
You don't?
I like for them to go out to go get, because there's no guarantee that Hassan Reddick is going to come and play, right? You go trade him.
Well, you got to get the money done. You got to get the money done with him first.
That you got to, for sure. I think the best move for them would be is to go out and get Zadarius Smith. He can get. He's better. He's better on both ends of the in both games. He's a good run defender, and he can apply pressure to the quarterback.
And he's bounced around teams before, so joining somebody midstream would not be a problem. See, the thing about, so that's a solid guy, but Hutchinson is so great, dude. Like, there's no replacing him.
Yeah, I get that, and then I was just about to add this as well. Like, great defensive ends, they're not falling off the tree. So you got to go get a solid guy.
Yeah, fair point.
We're moving out to the West Coast. We got the LA Rams against the Las Vegas Raiders. This is I'm trying to figure out how should I ask you this question, because I don't think this should happen, but it's going to be curious to see how you think this should happen. Should the Rams punt on the season and get involved in the trade talks with Cooper Kupp?
No, they shouldn't.
Thank you.
But I want them to do it. The Steelers fan, and because the Steelers fan in me needs a wide receiver here, and I need another team with Amari Cooper and Davante Adams on new teams to trade a wide receiver to the team I root for.
What about Mike? You wouldn't bring Mike Williams in?
No, I would, but here's the thing: Mike Williams at 30 years old, coming off a torn ACL, a back injury before that. I think Mike is a fine receiver. I think Cooper Kupp is an elite wide receiver. I think he is an elite route runner and a guy that gets open, short and intermediate, and that's what we need. That's what the Steelers need. They need that guy.
I got another question for you then, because I had an opportunity to go against Cooper Kupp. And yes, he is a great route runner.
Well, you locked him down. When I remember that.
I haven't. He had some plays on me as well. But here's my thing about Cooper Kupp. Yes, he's a great route runner. He don't have the best speed, but it's a lot of rub routes. It's a lot of, him motioning and not really having a guy in front of him. So therefore, he's just playing to the open area. So therefore, how can you guard that? And when you watch film and watch, him get off on his touchdown, especially in the red zone, he's coming out, he's in the slot, he's running the X receivers coming and picking the slot receiver. Now he's coming off of the pick route off the pick route, running a wheel route in order to get the touchdown on third down, on key third down moments. He's starting on one side, motioning over to the other side to see if the team is in man zone. And now if they're in man, he's going to run away from the leverage. If they're in zone, he's going to run to a hole. So don't get me wrong. He's a great receiver, but if you take him out of that system, will he still be the same Cooper Kupp?
Probably not. And you know what, though? I actually think you convinced me that my initial opinion was wrong. If I'm them, well, hold on, though. But here's why I actually think you just persuaded me to completely change my opinion. If so much of it is system dependent, he's in his 30s. He's making a lot of money. Why not trade him, get a high draft pick, and then go get someone who you think in the draft can do something like that? And you won't, you know what I'm saying? It frees up $30 million a year too.
Yeah. Because he's not like for me, when I look at guys who can, like, top receivers, I'm looking at guys who can beat one-on-one coverage. And not saying that Cooper can't do that. I just feel he can't do that on a consistent basis like a George Jefferson.
Well, what did you make of, because Pickens went on FS1 this week and George Pickens and said, so much of it is about system for wide receiver, and goes, look at Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a slot merchant that just has a system that feeds him the ball. And I'm like, damn, like, you're calling out a guy that's been a top 5 receiver in terms of production the last 2 or 3 years with that. If I was Amon-Ra St. Brown and I found out, no offense to George, but if I found out a guy that put up like 500 receiving yards fewer than me and 5 touchdowns less than me every year, I'd be like, what the hell, dude? You're calling me out? So
I think what George was getting at is that all of these guys that we're seeing, get put up these yards, that they're being utilized in their offense differently, which I said as well, that I feel like George, he's a guy that's always an X receiver. Like, there's no creativity when he's out there receiver. 9 times out of 10, he's running a slant, a fade, or a hitch. Like, let's put him in the slot. Let's motion him out a little bit. And I don't know if that may be too much on his plate or whatever the case may be, but that's how you get good receivers immersed in the game, because Justin Jefferson get double teamed almost every week. He still goes for 100 yards. A.J. Brown get double teamed 50% of the game. He still goes for 100 yards. So, but when you look at those guys, they're just not stagnant receivers lining up as an X or the Z. They're motioning. They're in the slot. They're being moved around, being a real chess piece, to where now you have to really understand what he's doing when he's at the X, when he's at the slot, when he's at the Z, when he's motioning. With George right now, he's a three route pony. I mean, everybody does that.
Eagles and Giants. Should New York regret letting Saquon Barkley walk?
Yes, 100%, because they don't have any run game. He was the heart and soul of that team. Not even let alone the offense of the team. And watching the hard knocks, the clips that they were showing, that's honestly just how the business is. But you can tell that he wanted to be there, and they just couldn't come to an agreement on the number that made both sides happy. So he made the best decision for himself. But I definitely think it was the Giants dropped the ball on this, because now you just showed that you have all the trust in the world in your quarterback, which we know you don't have the trust in, and you don't have no running game to allow your quarterback to be, emerge, as you're hoping him to be coming into this season. So it was just a bad move, in my opinion. Losing one of their, faces of their franchises to an arch rivalry. So that's just something that shouldn't have never happened, in my opinion.
And it's not that expensive to keep running backs anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's been such a devalued position.
Mhm.
I would have loved to have seen him in this offense, because the offensive line for the Giants has been a lot better this year than it has
Yeah,
been the last
they
couple
have.
for Barkley. Now, Andrew Thomas, their left tackle, just got knocked out with a Liz Frank injury, and that is a massive loss for them, because he is one of the better linemen in the league. So we'll see how they rearrange the deck chairs there, because that's not going to be a good situation to overcome. But I mean, I would have loved to have seen Barkley and Neighbors in that offense together, and then you would have really found out once and for all if Daniel Jones can get it done or not. Because if you give
Right.
him those two toys and he still isn't able with decent protection to win you games, well then, yeah, you're going to
Time to
draft
look
the
elsewhere.
quarterback in this draft. So I usually am a guy that says don't invest in running backs, but I think there was a way for the Giants to make it work with Saquon.
Yeah, I agree. Titans Bills. How much better did Amari Cooper make the Buffalo Bills?
Oh man, I think a lot.
Yeah,
I love him. I mean, he's had more drops this year. I think he's got 9, which is I'm shaking my head at that,
that's a
because
lot.
I usually think of him, as a very
Yeah, that's a
sure-handed
lot.
guy. But he runs great routes, footwork. Doesn't say a peep. Not one of these diva wide receivers who's gonna. This is probably why Buffalo wanted him,
Mm,
because he'll have a game where he catches 15 balls, and then the next week he'll catch 4, and you don't have to worry about him coming into the locker room after the game is over and being in a pissy mood, even though you won, because he didn't have a big game. I
right.
think he's ready to win. He's bounced around teams, so that's nothing that's foreign to him. Raiders, Cowboys, Browns, now to Buffalo.
Mhm.
So I think he fits the team. I think it's a personality fit. And I like Buffalo a lot more today than I did before the season started because of this move, Pat.
Yeah, I think it's a great move by Buffalo, going out and getting a veteran receiver in Amari Cooper, who is a exceptionally great route runner, a guy who can, pretty much catch anything. This season, a pretty down year on his drops, but a pretty up year on his drops. But for the most part, he gives you an opportunity to not only improve your room, but he bring leadership and a valuable veteran that these young receivers can obviously have an opportunity to learn from each and every day. Like you said, these receivers nowadays, if they're not getting the targets, they're not touching the football, they're complaining and going in the media, talking this, that, and other, although they want the game, but it's all about them. So maybe, Amari Cooper can, bring that same personality and help show these guys that, if one eat, we all eat, and it's all about wins at the end of the day. So I think this definitely improved their receiver room and also improved their offense, because they definitely needed a receiver that can win consistently outside the numbers, and also that can take the top off defenses.
Also, I just feel like the Cleveland situation was so rotten that getting him away from that will also get him to lift his game up. Like, I feel like that he's escaping Alcatraz basically by getting to Buffalo. Seahawks and Falcons. Atlanta goes for its first 4-game winning streak since before COVID. How far away from the Super Bowl discussion are they?
They're still pretty far, because they're probably like Let me see. Let me see who all in the NFC. You got the Lions, Minnesota,
Green
um,
Bay.
Green Bay. They're probably like the fifth to sixth best team right now in the NFC.
Would you put them ahead of San Fran?
No,
Okay.
no,
How
I
about
won't put
Tampa?
them. No. So yeah, whatever that I put them below, I put them. I put Tampa above them. I put 49ers above them. I put Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit. So that's the seventh best team in the NFC.
Yeah. That's
So
barely
yeah,
a playoff team because only
yeah,
7 teams
yeah.
make
So
it.
they're still a while away.
They're not really the reason why I am intrigued by them is because I don't really think they're bad at anything.
No, they're
I
not
like
bad, but I just don't think they don't do. I just feel like they need they have to apply better pressure on the quarterback if they want to
yeah,
win
that's been a
games.
problem for them for
Yeah, they
years.
cannot generate any pressure on the quarterback right now. And all of those teams ahead of them, that's all they do.
Yeah.
So you can't put them in front of any of those teams when they can't even get to the quarterback. So
You know,
I get what you're saying, that they're a solid football team. But those teams that I named in front of them are way closer to the Super Bowl discussions than they are.
well, like, here's one that might surprise you, okay? Like, just in terms of this discussion. If somebody said to me right now, who would you pick if you had to pick one of these two teams to come out of the NFC for the Super Bowl, the Commanders or Falcons? I would say Atlanta. Even with the way Jaden Daniels has played. I take him over any team in that division, actually. I take him over Philly. I take him over Dallas right now, too.
I don't like him over Washington. And I'm not just saying that the way Jaden's playing. I like Brian Coach Quinn's defense. I really like his attitude that he brings, and the way just Jaden is playing right now. I think that's just a recipe for winning, and that they have been doing and competing at a high level week in and week out. I just feel like when you have a stationary quarterback, man, it's just hard to win now with stationary quarterbacks who can't move, especially late in the year when that weather started to change. You know what I mean? So I like Washington out of those two teams.
Anything on Bengals, Browns, or Dolphins, Colts?
Oh man, the Dolphins, man, it's gonna be a while for I have any thoughts on their games. So Bengals Browns. My thoughts on the Bengals Browns game. I'm just hoping that Deshaun can show some life in this game. It's a divisional opponent. He know what defense they're going to be in, know what pressures that they like. Come on, man. Let's get it out of neutral. It's about that time because they're giving away receivers. Now it's pretty much putting all on your plate now because that's pretty much how it's been for the most part. Now you don't have one of your top receivers in the lineup anymore. So now it's really going to come down to how you perform in order to help this team come out of this slump that they're in. So I'm going to be watching that game to see how Deshaun Watson performs.
I am not a Browns fan. I'm the furthest
Me
thing
either.
from it. I
Yeah,
take
me
a
either.
lot of pleasure in watching them lose and screw up. However, I am a big Nick Chubb fan, and he's going to come back and
Oh,
play
he
in
is
this game on
returning. He
Sunday.
is coming back. Yeah,
And
big
you were on the
time.
field when he suffered that horrible
Yeah,
knee injury
man.
last year.
I was right in
That's
front
a
of him.
guy. Yep. I mean, it just was so ugly watching the replay back, and I almost wanted to throw up. But the guy is one of the most consistently good NFL running backs of all time.
Yep.
His yards per carry average is one of the best in league history. So I hope that we don't see him come back and look like a third of what he used to be. I want to see that guy go out on top and have a nice finish to his career.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as the Dolphins and Colts game, I'm just going to say this. I would not go away from Flacco if I'm the Colts.
Me either, man. Me either.
I would not do it. Anthony
Richardson's
Richardson
not ready, man. He's not ready.
He came in very raw.
He's not
And
ready.
so I don't see a rush to play him.
No.
I really don't. I would do the Jordan Love route on him and sit
Why
him
not?
and let him continue to watch because Flacco's lighting teams up right now, dude.
He is.
So,
He's lighting teams up and just Man, Anthony Richardson right now, he's just those, when your phone get hot, your iPhone get hot, the big caution sign come on. That's
Yeah.
what Anthony Richardson is right now. He's a big caution sign, man, because you don't know what you're gonna get from him, and he just do some wild things, just put himself in harm's way like almost all the time. So I'll let him sit out this year because what was his injury? It was a hip or a rib?
Hip.
Yeah, man, and he's already a running quarterback, so he's gonna just let him sit back and relax, and then watch Joe Flacco go to work.
We'll be back after Sunday Night Football. It's the Jets and Steelers, so I'm either going to be in a great mood singing the praises of Mike Tomlin for his quarterback move, or I'm going to be ready to break most of the things in this studio because he benched 4-2 Justin Fields for Russell Wilson. So thank you, Pat. We'll talk then. Thank you, Spencer Ray, for producing. Thanks for listening to First and Pod.